Inbound marketing presents an awesome opportunity, but there's also a lot of challenges that goes along with it. And I think a lot of those challenges are just how do you actually do all of the work? I think the tough part about inbound marketing is it takes a fair amount of work. You need to create content, you need to curate content, you need to have a lot of the tools and the interactions and the engagement. You need to do a lot of that stuff yourself.
There's a couple different challenges I think that are facing all marketers these days, particularly those who are using inbound strategies. Research that I did, that MarketingProfs did with the Content Marketing Institute, showed that there's a lot of challenges that marketers have, but the two most important ones are creating engaging content and creating enough content.
I think one of the biggest challenges that we face is engaging people without interrupting them. And I think for us, one of the biggest things is the social side of things. How do we take, I can retweet things, I can share things on Facebook, I can use things on Pinterest, but how do I make it relevant to my audience and engage them in a conversation?
It's not about creating a big pile of content in one place, it's about creating engaging content consistently, over time, and really organizing your marketing department, organizing your business really more as a publisher. That's what it means to be a publisher, is creating content consistently and, for the long term.
For content marketers, I think I can break down the challenges into three parts. First is, if you're starting a content marketing program, the idea of just hiring a journalist. That's not the best idea. What you want to do is you want to hire somebody who has writing ability, communication ability, but has a great knowledge of the subject matter that they're going to be writing about. That's probably the most important thing over just going out and hiring a journalist. The second piece, I think, is if you have a content marketing program established, you want to start looking at your metrics. What I look at is the difference between metrics that are actionable and metrics that are reaction. And if you focus entirely on metrics that just create a reaction, wow, up and to the right, put it on your refrigerator, you're not going to grow your business. Any KPI, any metric that you have to look at has to be actionable. No matter if it's 1, 2, 3, or 10 KPIs, you have to focus on action.
From my perspective, what I see is the challenge in the measurements, right? And understanding how does it contribute to sales and revenue in terms of what you can deliver. Is it truly educating, truly convincing?
For maybe somebody who's doing content marketing for a while, is this shift. And it really is a fundamental shift from reach to impact. What I mean by that is content marketers are 100% focused when they start their content program on lead generation. We've got to use content to drive leads, to drive leads, to drive leads. And then what they're forgetting about are the group of people over here, your existing customers. What do they need? What do they want? Because content marketing is about the full relationship, not just driving new business, but making sure that you take care of the people who do business with you and take care of them throughout their time doing business with you.
So when we started out, our biggest challenge was really around understanding our target audience and what was important to them and how are we going to provide them insight. And that was really about understanding them and who they are and what they needed. And from there it was, well, how are we going to get all of this content? And not only from the start, how are we going to get that content, but how are we going to sustain it so that it's relevant and engaging and targeted.
There's a lot of great ideas in the content marketing space about how we can use the web, and we can use mobile, and we can use email, and we can use all of these different touch points to drive conversion and drive interaction. The actual achievement of those capabilities is generally harder than I think most content marketers believe it to be.
Yeah, and I think there's kind of two types. The first is the challenge to create thought leadership. Really compelling, powerful, original content, saying something new that kind of brings your brand forward and elevates it. That's challenge number one. I think challenge number two is creating enough varieties and types of content to engage broad audiences at different stages of the buying cycle, different personas.
One of the greatest challenges for people who know what content marketing is still the creation of content, sustainable creation of content over a long period of time. It's amazing. Any one individual has a finite number of ideas, and so many content creation efforts are usually lied on or put upon one or two or three individuals in a big company. And that really is one of the big challenges.
I think the fundamental challenge that I see is that content is still perceived as a commodity and not as a strategy to drive consumer experiences. If I have to call out specifically three foundational challenges, I would say number one is that content is still generalized. There's a lack of personalization and contextualization of content, so that's one piece. Second is content is very tightly coupled with channels and devices. It is not agnostic. But with so much proliferation of channels and devices in the industry happening, the brands will only be successful if they are able to decouple content from those dependencies. And I think third is, everyone keeps talking about big data and how much data exists and whatnot, but there is not enough emphasis on enabling content testing and optimization. But again, it all boils down to looking at content from a totally different lens, which is absolutely strategic, as a very strong and primary vehicle to drive consumer behavior, consumer engagement, and not just as a commodity that you got to get there for each channel.